Welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with strange bones. That's me. And a little bit more true to our original interest in starting off. We've come back ever so slightly towards what we can refer to as paranormal and supernatural horror. So, of course, the topic for tonight is going to be Tinkerbell. Monkey Boy, how are you doing? Hope you're in fine and fabulous form. So, as we get going, I do hope that you are ready for an interesting one. We're actually going to be covering two topics, which may extend into further lives dependent on where things go and how we talk about them. And we're going in a bit more of a deep dive, though we've touched briefly on such things on many occasions in other lives. We are going to go further in this one. I hope you have your coffee. And I hope that you are indeed a lover of all things truly creepy. Because after all, what's the point of life without a little horror in it? So, as we get started, I will remind, well, all one of you at the moment, there are certain rules on the channel, and these rules do matter to us very much, because after all, we have a number of people that join us on the channel, and not all of these people necessarily are the same. We have different beliefs, we have different views, and all the rest of it. So our one rule is don't be rude. That said, you're welcome to your opinions. You're welcome to say as much as you like about anything, but just be polite about it. Hey, Jay. We ask only that you don't try and badger anybody that's on the live, and that you are reasonable about your commentary. Other than that, we encourage you to comment as much as you like, to believe whatever you like, to question as much as you like, and to add opinions as we go. We love our comments, and comments makes the algorithm spin, as we well know. So absolutely do. Subaru Queen, welcome, welcome. So yeah, comment as much as you like. Do like, share, subscribe, do all of the good things that keep the channel going, because without you, it doesn't go. You are who we do this for, and I do hope that you enjoy it very, very much indeed. And as we get going on it, Odenuff and Kingdom Glory Groundbreaking, welcome, welcome. So let's get going with our little stories. And recently I was chatting to one of the long-time channel, you to Eden out as well, to one of our long-time channel viewers, and they wanted to know more about fairy, because they said quite correctly, thank you Moon for the likes, I appreciate. Really and truly, what's the big deal with them anyway? And what's the difference between a fairy, F-A-I-R-Y, and fairy, F-A-E-R-I-E? Is there a difference? I am indeed very, very well. I'm glad to see you here, Moon. I'm glad that you're back, as a matter of fact. It's been a while since I've seen you on. But welcome, welcome. And perhaps you will enjoy fairy. We shall see. So, generally, if you say fairy to anybody, the thing that pops into your head, 2222, what is 2222? Glad you like the topic. So, normally if you talk fairy, you think Tinkerbell. Small, little dragonfly wings, ever so cute, bit of attitude. Firstly, the movies have it all wrong. The little ones were not as cute as that. Secondly, there are only one kind of fairy. Now, when you talk fairy, F-A-E-R-I-E, you mean all of the fae folk. And there's quite a lot, and in a lot of different countries and cultures as well, which is pretty cool. Also, quite a lot of them are not that nice. And if you're talking quite serious horror, the fairy actually fit that quite a lot. Now, Moon says she believes fairies are very real. She is not the only one, and one of the main people that spoke a great deal of them in history was a chappie by the name of Robert Kirk. Now, what makes him really interesting is not only that he spoke of them, but that he believed in them, because he was, in fact, a preacher. And one would imagine that such a person would not believe in such things, but it seems that he certainly did. And that was in the 17th century. Little houses for them in the garden. Well, funnily enough, that's a practice that was done by a lot more people than you might think. And we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the fairy, because there are a number of houses to the fairy, and they are not all the same. And strange as it may think, because most people will tell you, no, fairies come from England. That's where you get them. That is not true either. Many different and totally unrelated countries and cultures believe in them, and weirdly enough, describe them broadly the same, which makes you wonder, does it not, what might be out there. So join me as we have a good old look into what might be a step into a great deal more darkness than you think. Now, interesting point there, Moon, because you've used the word fae. What's the difference between fairy, and fae? Well, generally speaking, if you're talking fairies, F-A-I-R-Y, you're talking about Disney things. They're cute, they're sweet, they're not real. Whereas, if you're talking about the fae, or the fairy, F-A-E-R-I-E, you are referring to the elder races. And that, my friends, might be something quite different indeed. So let's begin. So, generally speaking, as I have said, fairy, F-A-I-R-Y, cute, winged, and existing entirely on Disney. Your Tinkerbell, if you will, and not much to be considered at all. Your fairy, far more serious and ancient, creatures that perhaps are very, very varied from the little ones, which you might want to avoid. They're flesh eaters. Yes. And the fae, which by and large is the generic adjective for all of them. Now, among them, of course, you get different kinds. So the different kinds are quite important in and of themselves. And if you are talking, for example, elves, elves are a kind of fairy. So, as with many things, all elves are fairy, but not all fairy are elves, if that makes any sense. So what counts as a fairy, and are they good or evil? Well, a number of different things, from the Tylwyth Teg to the Aoshi, to the Tuatha De Danann, and more. Certain forms of the yokai, apparently, even. And it seems that even Indonesia has a problem with fairy as well. Are they good or evil? Well, they are powerful. They are capricious. To call them good or evil would imply that we understood them, and we don't. So perhaps we cannot say that. Their motivations, however, can swing either way. So sometimes not. They were clearly of a strong enough belief that at a time, even Christianity spoke of them and referred to them, possibly in some kind of theological defense, as maybe fallen angels or demons in disguise. But they didn't say that they weren't there. Now, who believes? Well, pretty much everybody. You have fairy beings in Celtic and Germanic fairies, in British fairies, in Slavic fairies, in Asian fairies, African fairy, which is quite an interesting one in itself, and even American fairy, which range from things like the Pukwudgie, which you might know from Harry Potter, but actually Harry Potter stole from the real stories, which are not quite as nice. And of course, the stories of the Nunahe, which are scarily similar to that of the Tuatha De Danann, on a completely different continent and in a completely different culture and time. But nevertheless. So, the British Isles, which had a strong Celtic thing, influenced by Germanic to a certain degree, you had the elves, known as the Tuatha De Danann, and the Tylwyth Teg, and similar. Some would say, Moon, that acknowledging their power is a good thing. Others would say that speaking their name is a dangerous one. And the speaking of names is very much bound up with the Fae. Because after all, there are times when they know, and they hear far more than you think. And the speaking of a name calls them, Mickey, how are you?
Hello, I'm okay, thanks yourself.
I'm very, very good. I'm so glad that you are back.
Oh, thank you.
We certainly missed you greatly. So,
Oh,
well, we did.
thanks.
I'm glad
So
you're
much
on. I
appreciated.
was hoping Moon would join live as well, but it seems we are not allowed to let her in. But tonight, in fact, Mickey, is a topic dedicated to you, seeing as we spoke of
Oh,
it.
really?
Yes, it is. We're doing a deep dive into the Fae.
Oh, nice.
So yes, and we just started, so you missed nothing. And it seems that what's strange is just about every
I'll be right
country.
back.
Yes, no probs, no probs. Just about every country in the world believes in them and describes them more or less similar. So what are they? Well, common themes include nature spirits, and that's common world over. some theories, which I don't think are quite like, were that the fairies were pagan gods, demonized by Christianity. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I tend to feel that the descriptions don't match gods. There were things that absolutely were described as gods, and they were definitely out there, and I have a hovering mozzie that's going to be hunted down shortly. Just lately, there are about 10 billion of them around, and they seem to think I'm the tastiest thing in the world. It is not fun. Nevertheless, they are generally known to be tricksters in one way or another. They can be very good. Yay, you're back. Did you get your coffee?
I have to quickly go ask someone. I'm gonna go off for a little bit and I'll come back just now. I just need to go speak to someone quickly.
No problem at all. We will await you.
All right. See you now. Bye.
Okay, ciao, ciao. So, the theme seems to run that they are capricious, that they're not necessarily bad. In fact, they can be incredibly helpful. But at the same time, sometimes for reasons we don't quite understand, they can be very unhelpful. And possibly the reason is that they live so much longer than humanity that perhaps they become bored and they require far more intellectual stimulation. And to them who are virtually indestructible, it's no more than a joke. Whereas to us poor mortals who are very susceptible to so many things, we don't get the joke. Maybe. Now, some of them we know by name. Some of them, maybe not. In Africa, you have the Abeku and the Aziza. They're almost childlike, fairy forest spirits that maintain balance, sometimes help hunters, sometimes connected to protective magic. Sometimes they are tragic, sometimes they are helpful. But sometimes, if you do the wrong things, and what's right and wrong is their opinion, not yours, well, things can go south. Now, the Abeku are quite tragic. They are spirit children destined to die young, reborn over and over, sometimes to the same parents. They cause sorrow, they bring sorrow, and they are sorrow. Now, connected to them, but not the same, are the Aziza, which are small, benevolent forest spirits, strangely enough, fuzzy, winged spirits. And they are the ones that really have the magic, the wisdom, protection, and more, especially for hunters, but only if they think you're being good about it. Because if you're not, they will teach you quite a serious lesson, and not necessarily a lesson that you will enjoy learning. Spooky, welcome, welcome. So, an interesting set of fairy that you find. Now, among the forest spirits, you also have a number of others out there that are more like your sort of dryads and elves and others. And we've seen that in varying forms of African folklore. So we have these creatures in all the cultures, and we will of course have to touch on them, but we need to have a look at what they might actually be. So they are mythical, They are supernatural to a certain degree. They are generally mostly referring to the European folklore. But that's not true, as we have discovered. They range from the tiny winged sprites like Tinkerbell, but far darker, to the otherworldly, courtly beings, tall and beautiful like Queen Mab, to the mischievous house spirits like the Brownies, with tricky rules and complex motives, sometimes good, sometimes not, often linked to nature, fate, and the otherworldly realms, influencing human lives through deals, tricks, and guidance when it's needed. So what do they look like? Well, yes, just about anything you can imagine. And given that a fair number of them are shapeshifters, well, they can be tiny, tall, dwarf-like, and more. Often connected to nature, but not necessarily. And of course, very, very magical. And it seems that Mickey's having a distinct trouble connecting. I wonder why. Come on, you know you can do it. Let's see if we can multi-guest her and make life easier. Does not want to do it, does it? It just says no. Why? Let's try again. We can do it, though. I'm sure we can do it. For these things, these things are doable. There we go. And there we go. Dum, dum, dum. Spooky, how you doing?
Hey, man. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been struggling away. Somebody gifted me rather nicely a brand new computer. Well, when I say brand new to me. The computer, in fact, is an older one, and we've been trying to get it going, but it seems that modern apps and technology are more powerful than its tiny little mechanical brain, and it's struggling terribly because I wanted to set it up because it's got a much better webcam and screen, but alas, so it didn't work despite our attempts. We tried our best, but these are
You want to tell me more about it?
What, the computer?
Yeah. What software are you running? Are you running Windows 11?
No, it ain't strong enough for that. It's a bit too old, I'm afraid. So what I'm going to try and do is see if I can't somehow work around that. Or I'm going to use it for all my text and stuff that I do. And then keep the laptop for fancy.
Okay, so it's a laptop.
No, the one I'm using is a laptop because it works.
Okay.
The other one's a desktop with a nice big screen and everything. But yeah,
Okay.
a bit old it seems. It's okay.
Do you know anything about the specs?
No, because I'm stupid. So I went and got some of my friends who are young and brilliant to have a look at it, and they actually replaced half of the insides as well and put in all kinds of amazing things so that it runs. And it does run. It runs very nicely. It's just not quite fast enough to manage a TikTok live without there being severe lag. But we will get there. But nevertheless, I just really wanted it for the bigger screen, if you will. for the live so I could see more of what I was doing. Because you know me, I'm half blind.
Okay.
It seems that the connection down Mickey's way is not great. We will keep trying. Nevertheless, tonight we are doing fairy. What they are, why they are, and why you shouldn't poke one with a stick. And Mickey is back and not managing to get on. I don't know why. We'll just keep on sending invites until she does. But there are definite issues. So what are the things that go along with them? Well, the big thing, if you will, with fairy are the deals that they offer. And they do like to offer deals. The problem with the deals that they offer is that you probably shouldn't take them. Because by and large, it's a pretty bad idea. As the old saying goes, you get exactly what you wish for and nothing of what you want. So keep that in mind. Now, amongst other things that are along with their ironic and harsh deals that they do are the fact that they don't seem to exist in the same time slip as the rest of us. And the difficulty with that is you can step into their world for 10 years and come back in 10 minutes. Or spend 10 minutes in their world and come back in 10,000 years. And you never know which way it will go. And all kinds of strange things may happen. We also know that many countries in the world will tell you that they have fairy houses, which is interesting because generally they're described much the same. Circular earthworks that you really don't want to dig into, because if you do, it will go bad. Now, of course, the modern folklore is a very sanitized, Disney-esque type thing.
Hello.
Hello, you made it! Yay! I thought we weren't going to win it for a chance, but I'm glad you're back. So, modern Tinkerbell type fairies really don't give you any understanding of the fairy at all. Because in the old stories, the fairy are powerful, dangerous, and not to be trusted. Mwahahaha. They are part, in fact, of what we can refer to as the cosmic horror. Those areas of belief that are much darker than we like to admit. And in the depths of winter, when the lights burn low, that people whisper the stories of what might walk behind. And funnily enough, that's the name of one of the most famous of the Tylwyth Teg, He Who Walks Behind. And we shall talk about him, of course. Now, of course, when we talk about it, fairies, fairies, fairies. Are they good? Are they bad? Well, the root word of fairy comes from the Latin, actually, meaning fate. And it seems that fairies are those with the power to change fate, to modify. Yay! I seize you. So, if it's a Latin word for fairy, what were they originally called in the different cultures? Well, as we know in the Welsh, they're the Tylwyth Teg. In the old Celtic, they were the Tuatha De Danann, the children of Danu. In the modern Celtic, they are the Aon Shi, the people of the Shi. Among the Japanese, the Yokai. Among Africans, Azizu. And of course, in different countries and cultures, so many different names, the Nunahe and more. But the moon-eyed ones are always...
Describe it.
Which ones?
Well, very visually.
That's the great thing about them. There are a great many, and none of them are the same, ranging from your tiny little winged ones to 6 foot tall, stunningly beautiful ones, to ones with more tentacles than arms and legs, and teeth built for hunting. Oh, there are a great many of them out there. Some of them you will find the more beautiful they are, the more dangerous they are. And there we start to speak, of course, of the light court and the dark court, the Drokalfar and the Liosalfar, or the Seelie and the Unseelie. So let's have a look at what we've got and what they might be like, and whether or not we should fear them in every country and culture. So, fairy. Often in modern stories, they're the cute ones, the sweet ones, the good ones. They are generally, but not always, more or less humanoid, often linked to nature and showing similarities to nature. The dryads having bark-like skin, some of the animal ones having horns, and so on and so forth. Beautiful, certainly, spoken of in many, many cultures.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so I forgot what you said previously. Are all fairies elves, or are all elves fairies?
All elves are fairies, but not all fairies are elves. So elves are a kind of fairy. But not all fairies are elves. Elves, by and large, the word comes from the Nordic, the Alfar, and they refer to a specific variety, similar to the Seelie and Unseelie, but not exactly. I would say that the Seelie are more like the Liosalfar, but the Drokalfar are not like the Unseelie at all. They're quite different. Now, early Christianity did not deny their existence, merely said that they were fallen angels or demons and that they should be avoided. But they never denied that they were there. Now, we know that they are magical and they may change. So, goblins, dwarfs, gnomes are all fairy. But they are not elves. They are different kinds. Ultimately, your fairy is that they are a magical type of being that lives in a world near but not that near. Similar, and almost always with the same geography as this world, implying that it is a parallel world. They are affected by specific things, it said, cold iron, four-leaf clovers, and certain types of food. They are connected to particular areas, and moving them from those areas can cause a great deal of trouble. And in fact, one of the biggest and most problematic problems that was caused with northern Britain, where the Scots and the Irish live, was the very fact that the Fomorians, who were the fairy that lived there, were defeated and shifted out by the Tuatha De Danann that came over from the European continent. And it's actually spoken of in the old stories. The Tuatha De Danann were colonizers. They were not the original fairy of Britain. The Fomorians were. And who were the Fomorians? Well, that's another story entirely. Possibly more sea-like, we're not sure. But they were definitely...
Mermaidy people.
Mermaids, by and large, were the nicer variety. Whereas the Fomorians were a fair bit nastier. Yeah, they were bigger, they were giant-like, they were somewhat monstrous. They were absolutely aquatic, but also terrestrial to a certain degree, and they ruled the north of Britain. And they were a fairly dark bunch, as it were. And when the Tuatha De Danann came across, they held the Great War for the control of Ireland. And of course, the Tuatha won. Now, the Fomorians were said to have monstrous features, goat's head, single eyes, multiple limbs, but some of them were fairly wise as well, but they were great seafarers. They came from either the sea or the underworld, and they were far more primal than the Tuatha. Some of them were quite beautiful in their own way, but they were chaotic and creatures of storms and more. They controlled weather and could blight crops and held powerful magic. Famous ones include Balor of the Evil Eye, Tetra and Breath, who ruled Ireland, and they held great battles against the Tuatha, like the Battle of Magtere, which, of course, the Tuatha won. Now, we don't hear a great deal about them anymore, so I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, simply because they're quite a scary bunch in their own ways. But maybe it's good that they're gone, who's to say? We know that in art and culture they've been drawn for centuries all over the place. I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon Brave.
Yes.
Okay, you know those funny little fairies that look like moss-covered rocks?
Yes, yes.
Okay, they're a particular kind of fairy as well. Those ones are mostly neutral, sometimes good, among the varied fairy. But it shows you how different fairy can appear. Some of them are goblin-like, some of them are beautiful, some of them, they just don't like people, which is understandable as we've destroyed much of their homes. So it's quite possible that it's our fault. But nevertheless, they recur in stories in so many different cultures, which implies then that the Fae or the Fee are powerful magic users, and they can and will get involved because it amuses them, because they think you deserve it, or because they think you need to learn a quite serious lesson. And of course, they are the enchanting ones. But what we forget so often is they are enchanting. They are terrific. But the root words for enchanting is enchanted, put under the sway of their magic and controlled. And the root word for terrific is terror. And they are beings of enchantment and terror. So, not as nice as you might think. Were they demoted angels? No, I think that was just a way to cover things up. We know that there's all sorts. Fairies that are tree spirits, fairies that are spirits of lakes and waters and waterfalls, are flowers and more. And the sweetest and cutest of them all are the ones that we remember very well indeed. The little Tinkerbell ones that, they're so nice. Except those are the ones who eat flesh, that swarm like bees. And if you enter their areas uninvited, they will devour you down to your skeleton in mere moments. The flowers that they inhabit exuding no longer sweet smells, but a strange kind of mind-altering drug that causes you to fall asleep so that they may catch you. They are known, in fact, to be able to change their size, becoming as big as you or taller, wielding silver swords that cut deep, with wounds that do not heal because of the magic within the blades. The ability to shoot arrows that, when they cut, even the slightest wound will cause your heart to stop. And thus we get the words elf struck, which we've kept to this day to remind even those of us who try to forget that when you have a heart attack, you've had a stroke because you've been elf struck. Something to keep in mind.
Wow. It's crazy.
Some say that they are the spirits of the dead, and maybe some of them are, or perhaps they are more like spirits of death, such as he who walks behind. One of the Irish Tuatha De Danann of the Unseelie court, one of the dark fae, one of the ones that, if you have insulted the fae, is sent to get vengeance. And no matter how fast you run or how far you go, he always walks behind. And on a dark and moonless night, when everything goes quiet around you and even the crickets go silent, if you turn, right there within arm's reach behind you is he who walks behind, come to claim you, and vengeance will be had. Some say
Makes
he
me
is...
think of
Yes?
sorry.
Go on.
Makes me think of Children of the Corn, the one that walks behind the rose or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know. That thing.
They
It's
got
got
that
nothing to do.
idea from this.
Yeah.
Because you see, every now and then they will send out the wild hunt. But you see, if you can defeat the wild hunt, which is virtually impossible, but you can, then all bets are off. You're forgiven. Don't worry. If you can avoid the assassins of the fairy. But when it is an unforgivable thing, the wild hunt don't hunt you. Only he who walks behind. And if you want to know who he who walks behind is, well, of course we remember him. You know him. You've met him before. After all, you know the story of Alice in Wonderland, don't you? Yes?
Yeah.
You've seen the cartoons. It's funny. It's sweet. And of course, popping up unexpectedly at all times is none other than the Cheshire Cat. But where did the Cheshire Cat come from? The Cheshire Cat is the Kushi, the assassin of the fairies, he who walks behind, the cat that always catches his prey, invisible until he's not. And in that moment when he's not, you very, very much wish he was. But who's to say? Let us go on. They are also
Can
known.
I ask a ridiculous question?
Yes.
How do I get a fairy godmother? Or should I be a
Now there's a
special
question.
type of person to get one?
That's a very, very interesting question because I can answer it in several ways. You see, the first answer is that everybody has a fairy godmother. There is a fairy that is, I don't want to say assigned to you, but analogous to you. Now, the problem, if you think about it, is they make your dreams come true. Do you remember all of your dreams? Because some dreams are wonderful, with birthday cakes and fireworks, and some of them are nightmares. But fairy godmothers make all your dreams come true. It just depends. And as we've said, on what does it depend? Well, the rules of the fairy, which are not the rules of you. So do you want a fairy godmother? Well, the answer is you've got one whether you like it or not. Should you attract her attention? Well, that's another question entirely, because once you've got it, she might get interested. Is it always a female? Well, it seems that if you're a guy, you get a girl, and if you're a girl, you get a guy. Why? Possibly because in certain ways, your fairy counterpart, if you will, is in fact your fetch. It's
Okay.
the other side
I
of
was going
you.
to say the opposite gender of a fairy godmother sounds like a criminal. If I have to say fairy godfather.
Well,
Yeah.
it is the fairy. They make deals. They give you exactly what you asked for and not at all what you want. And if that doesn't sound like the mafia, then I don't know what does. It would probably be a fairly good description to say that your fairy godparents are absolutely having the famiglia, the dons, amazing, powerful, can grant you all sorts of things, but do you really want it? Que cosa?
How do I speak to this fairy godmother? How can I say hi? Where is it hiding?
Well, let's get to that right now, because they are known as the hidden folk, the ones you rarely see, the ones that are...
If I dream of a pot of gold, will the fairy godmother bring it to me?
No, not necessarily. You're talking about the leprechauns and the cluricans. They're a specific kind. They're not all the same. So, no. But you know when they are around. If you ever find one specific bush or tree where the bees are gathered strongly and nowhere else, the elves are present. If you ever walk through the woods and you find that perfect circle of mushrooms, they're close because they've danced there. If you're ever walking through the woods and you suddenly think, I'm sure that flower was facing the other way, but as I've passed it, it keeps seeming to face me, almost as if it's watching. Be sure it is. It's watching. And it's not a flower. When they speak of the stories of the screaming ginseng and what's the other plant that screams? gone from my head. They dug it up in your
Scream.
Harry Potter and had to wear earmuffs.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about. I
Well,
remember now.
nevertheless, they are plants empowered by the fairy. And yes, you do need to be
Plants
there.
that scream.
Oh, yes. When you pull them from the ground, they scream.
Yeah, that one in Harry Potter. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, Harry Potter took the idea from things like the writings of Robert Kirk, and we will get to him. Now, of
I only know
course,
about plants that make you scream.
well, there's those as well. We know that among the fairy we have ogres, dwarfs, goblins. They're all hidden folk. They appear only when they want to be. They are elementals, such as the sliffs and the salamanders. Some of them don't look anything like humans at all, but some of them are very much humanoid, dependent on their personal preferences. None of them like cold iron. None of them like Rowan or yew. Certain herbs can affect certain ones, and they say that harsh salt will hold them back, at least for a little while, though it might upset them. They find it funny to sneak into your house at night and tangle your hair into elf locks, stealing small items or leading travellers astray. Their dangerous behaviours sometimes might include seeing if they can make you walk off a cliff just because it's funny, or perhaps stealing a child and swapping them for a changeling or a stump. They say that tuberculosis or consumption is caused by fairies who stole young men and women away and made them dance at their parties every night, exhausting them to the point where they wasted away from lack of rest and eventually died. Well, these charms are there to protect you for a reason. In the old days, every graveyard in Europe had yew, holly and rowan growing in it to ward off the fae who might borrow the body of those laid to rest for whatever reason they might decide. Be careful if you meet somebody that you heard had passed on, because it might be that they did. That's not who you think it is. But what kinds of them are there? If there's so many types, how do we classify them? Well, you can. And people have attempted to do this in varying ways. You have trooping fairies, those who appear in groups and travel. They move from place to place with temporary stops in different places. You get solitary fairies who do not live or associate with others, but have something specific that they do or a specific place to guard. Dwarves are often like that, and certain elves. We know that the Irish and Scottish divide the elves into the Seelie and the Unseelie. They say that the Seelie court is far more beautiful and always tell the truth, but they are far more dangerous and malicious because they are the court of illusion and light, and you never know what is really there. Whereas the say again?
They don't have wings?
Some do, some don't. It depends.
But most fairies don't have wings.
A lot don't. But many of them are also shapeshifters, so when they want to, They can. Those crows that you see outside your house watching might not be crows. The ravens flying in a strange collection, all gathered, apparently having a meeting in a very unbird-like way, might not be. You never know. When that deer doesn't flee at the first sight of you, but stands and stares, assessing you, that might not be a deer. So it's hard to say what might be or what might not be. So, welcome, welcome.
Can you tell me what is a pixie?
Ah, now the pixie
I'm
are a
back.
kind. You're back. Welcome back.
Yes, yes, I haven't been here for like 2 years.
It's been ages. Did you get yourself banned?
Yeah, but my brothers are in my room and they won't get out.
Throw rocks at them. I never said that. So we're talking
Well, he
horror,
already fell, so
fairies and horror. So you are asking now about classifications first. And classifications include such as the Seelie and Unseelie. The Unseelie being the darker, the uglier, the more malicious, but the far more honest. You get what you see, but what you see you probably won't like. Nevertheless, we see that with them are changelings. Changelings are sometimes fairy children that are left in place of human children for reasons only the fairy know. Sometimes, though, they leave what is called a stump, which is quite literally a log of wood charmed to look like a baby, which perhaps is kinder because it apparently dies very quickly as the illusion fades, and then you don't have to worry about them. Whereas the ones that are fey children grow up strange, that stare without blinking too long, that sit quietly when you expect a child to fuss or play, that seem to understand far too much too early, and they live for a very, very long time indeed. Now your pixies are little ones. They're usually around about a foot to a foot and a half tall, and they're a lot like the brownies. Some would say that the brownies are the Southern English version of the Northern English pixie. And pixies are found in the Scottish as well, and in certain of the Irish. So they're a type of fairy. They are not as small as the little...
These ones are like childlike. And
Yes.
They mischievous.
Yes, they are more
Like to cause
mischievous.
chaos.
They are not necessarily good and they are not necessarily bad. They can do good things for you and be very, very nice. But they do play tricks to amuse themselves, and like the leprechaun, which might well be a kind of pixie, and the clurican, they do like their gold and they do like their drink. So if you're good to them and you obey the rules, theirs, not yours, which you might not know, and that's tough luck on you, they can do good things. They're the ones that have the wealth, which might last nearly as long as morning, that bring luck, as shown in a four-leaf clover or a small ring, that as long as you have it, you can make that one wish, and it might come true, though do be careful of wishes. They might come true.
Maybe I can ask another silly question.
Yes.
Okay, so I do not know anything about Tinkerbell except the name.
Okay.
So is Tinkerbell just like a cartoon story that was made recently, or is it actually like a folklore or something?
The modern Tinkerbell, like all Disney things, is made pretty. All the bad bits got taken away. The original Tinkerbell type story is one of the Tylwyth Teg, the Welsh fairy. And they're flower fairies, and they are the ones that are meat eaters, that drink blood and live in the flowers, which they use to drug you so they can drain your body dry and then eat the flesh, especially the soft bits.
Okay, so but Tinkerbell is like a good fairy.
Only in Disney.
Okay, so why did Disney portray the
Bec-
fairy as a good thing?
Why do Disney hide all the bad bits in all the stories? The Disney Little Mermaid lives happily ever after. The real story, walking on land, was like running barefoot across red-hot glass shards. And in the end of the story, she passed away and turned to sea foam, bereft of love by the prince who abandoned her. Disney makes it
Okay.
pretty. They don't like to remember the scary parts because our little children won't manage.
Yeah,
Fairy
like
godmothers.
Pocahontas.
Oh, absolutely. They left out the bit where she was raped multiple times and died in poverty in England, unable to go back home.
Or the part where wife was slaughtered.
Exactly. There are a lot of stories that are made so much nicer. Your fairy godmothers in Disney are Twinkly Boo and Bippity Boppity. That's not how it goes at all. And always remember, everything you ever get from the fairy, you pay for one way or another.
Okay.
Maybe not in the way you expect. Though I did see a rather good meme that popped up today where this guy's bargaining with one of the fairy, and the fairy says, "And I will give you all that you ask for in return for your firstborn." And the guy says, "Absolutely." And the fairy says, "Sign here." And the guy signs and says, "Right, when do we start?" And the fairy's like, "Excuse me?" And the guy says, "You wanted our firstborn. When do we start?" Well, he was cleverer than the fairy was. There's always a way to trick a trickster. Maybe. Maybe not. They say that if you're good to them, like the pixies especially and the brownies, they will be good to you. They like honey and milk and fresh bread and butter and especially cream. And if you give them a combination of it, well, they will do good things for you. They say that if an infant is carried out after dark, a piece of bread is wrapped in its bib or dress, and it protects it from any of the fairies as you go abroad carrying it. That's from 1882 in County Wexford in Ireland. Fairies riding on horseback often have bells on the harness, which might be the difference between the Seelie and the unseelie, because bells are fine if you're Seelie, but bells seem to ward off the unseelie, and perhaps it's a way to protect themselves from their own kin. Is that true? We're not sure. Would you like to try it? They say that they like to lead you astray like the will-o'-wisp, which might well be one of your Tinkerbell type fairies trying to lead you on into a place where you may drown, especially in swamplands. There are certain places where they claim a haunting not by ghosts, but specifically by fairy. And they say that you should never dig a fairy hill. If you do so, they will come and get you. The paths of the fairies are the straight tracks, which some of us remember as ley lines, lines of power that the fairy have learnt to travel, that if you're powerful enough, you too can walk, but you might not want to. So the straight lines that go through time and space, and the fairies use them to get to where they go. They say that fairy forts are left undisturbed, so you might find a place in the middle of a good field that just isn't used, and you wonder why, and the reason is because that bit isn't yours, and you need to remember that. Fairy trees, often thorn trees, are dangerous to cut down. And there's one in Scotland that for the last 70 years has not been cut, even though an important road had to be diverted to go around it, because some things you just don't do, because the fairy remember, and they live a very long time indeed. So what offends them? Don't give them clothing. The idea of Dobby and his sock comes from that. If you give them clothing, they will go away. Some say that if you complain about the work, they will go. Some say if you admit that they were there helping you to anybody else, they will go. They like their privacy. Offending a fairy is the key thing. Now, an example is one farmer found that the fairies had threshed all his corn, and the threshing continued even after his corn was gone, and he realized that they were stealing his neighbor's corn and threshing it for him, leaving him with the choice of offending them or getting into trouble for the theft. And of course, which way could he go, and which would be the more dangerous? Now, they say that the fairy could control the forces of nature, the fire in the kiln, the water in the stream, and they can set even machinery working when they wish. They can manipulate any kind of energy, be it electrical, lights and more. And when they wish to move silently, they can pass the clouds across the moon, so that you do not see them as they go until it's too late. They say that be very, very, very careful of any gift, because every gift has a price, and nothing is done for nothing. But if you please them somehow, and the gift is a reward, it will be a very fine reward indeed. Now, we have our beautiful ones, we have our not so beautiful ones. They appear as animals, birds especially, deers, mice, cats, ravens, a horse, an eagle, a dragon when it wants to be, and sometimes just a person. Who's to say what pleases them? They can appear as a knight and challenge you, standing in the road and saying, try your strength. If you win, you shall have riches beyond your wildest dreams, but if you lose, you shall come away with me. They say that such a warrior is impossible to beat, and the only way to defeat him is to take the honorable way and cast your weapon down at his feet and say, I will not fight, for I have no quarrel with you. Because if you join the fight, he's better than you. And after thousands of years of training, you may be sure of that. So there are tales of this happening, even in the modern age, where the warrior is not a knight, but a soldier in fatigues. But there he stands, watching. We know that in the story of Thomas the Rhymer, he was in love with the most beautiful fairy woman, and he went to be with her, spending no more than a day in Elfland and returning 7 years later. We see that Eugen stayed in his fairy land when he dismounts, having left 3 centuries have passed, and all that knew are gone, and the age catches up with him, making him ancient and bent. We know that they pass as travelers in disguise to see if you are a good person, a kind person, and if you're not, you get punished. We see then that King Herla in one of the tales went and beat one of the dwarfs, having gotten all he could from them, and then they gave it because they promised, but they gave an extra gift. He should have all the wealth he desired for as long as he lived. And when he went back home and stepped off his horse, he was hit in the face with about 10,000 years and crumbled to dust. And they took everything back. He had it for all of his life. They kept their word.
How did he get to that point?
Say that again. How did he?
Well, did he know witchcraft?
Oh no, he met one and bargained with it.
Okay.
Now,
If I
we
want
know
to talk
that...
to a fairy, should I know witchcraft?
Oh, you don't need to know witchcraft, but you do need to be a lot cleverer than the fairy, and that's very hard indeed.
Okay, but if I want to communicate with a fairy,
I'm back. If you
should I
care.
cast a
Oh,
spell?
you don't care about me. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I'm stuttering again.
Zah, what's wrong?
Is my name? Okay, I'm weird now. I guess that's what I am now in America. I'm weird. That's what they
Weed?
call it.
Oh, do
They
they?
call it Zara.
Oh, okay. I thought that was short for pizza. In America. Shows how much I know. So, how do we talk to fairies? Well, you go and find the circles, the places where the bees gather. They say that if you go and leave gold near a gorse bush, which are a big favourite of the fairy, you can speak to them, or they will come to you. Or if you leave them gingerbread cakes. A gorse bush. You get them very much in Europe. They are a very spiky, thorny kind of bush, which have blood red flowers.
Like a cactus.
No. It's a very green, leafy bush with sharp spines on a very wiry sort of bush as well. In flowers twice
I
a
know
year.
two, but I don't know which one you're talking about because, like, the one like that looks like grass, or
The one
like
that
which one? What?
in winter flowers red and in summer flowers white.
Oh, I have one of those actually. No, I'm serious. Oh, I can't go outside.
First they are as red as blood, then they are as black as mud. Third as green as grass they grow, and finally as white as snow.
But we don't
course.
snow.
Well, it does where
We
they
snowed
grow.
like once.
They tend to grow.
I have one of them. It's never snowed by me.
Oh, well, I don't know. And Mickey
So,
vanished. Why did Mickey vanish? That's sad.
She looked at the camera looking like she looked concerned and she just left.
Boink, and she's
Oh, she's
back.
back.
Yay! What happened, Mickey?
My internet's a bit funny at the
Dodgy.
moment.
Not a problem. So, yes, you can communicate with them in many ways, but be careful who you get, because among them there is the wild hunt. And if you are a good warrior, they
Something
might.
happened.
Jay is here,
Something
and so is
happened.
Lazy Ninja.
so
Hello.
I'm guessing
You're
I'm guessing
guessing.
the best way to talk to a fairy would to find the circle of mushrooms and then start eating the mushrooms.
No, 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 no. Do not eat the mushrooms. Do not break the mushrooms. Do not damage the mushrooms. You leave them a little gift of milk and honey and bread, and let them know you'd like to chat. If you eat the
I'm not giving them my
mushrooms,
food.
bad things happen.
Are we gonna like get
Then I'll
delusional
be
and start calling
speaking
the
to them.
fairies and then they eat us?
They take you away to fairyland and you're never seen again.
Oh yay, fairyland will I become a fairy?
No, you'll be kept as a pet forever.
I don't wanna go anymore. I'm fine.
That's generally what people realize after they've gone and it's too late. But yes, there are all kinds of ways that you might. So even William Blake, the great poet, claimed to have seen the
Oh
fairy.
no,
And he records.
Philip.
Yes.
My public live thing was on now. Everybody saw that I was live, and now they're gonna join. I don't want them to join.
Well, they're going to anyway, and it's fine too. So, William Blake says, "Did you ever see a fairy's funeral?" And the lady who happened to be speaking to him said, "Never, sir." And the lady looked at him, and Blake said, "I have. And it was last night." And he went on to tell how in his garden he had seen a procession of creatures the size and colour of green and grey grasshoppers, bearing a body laid out on a rose leaf, which they buried with songs and then disappeared. And
I have an idea.
they said, "This, having seen, is an omen of death." And not long after that, William Blake was no more.
I have an idea. Like, what if kidnap a grasshopper and then you take it to scientists and they take little micro cables and then they stick it in the brain, then they take all the information out and then they put it on the TV and then you can see what happened?
It depends on what you got, whether or not you got a grasshopper or a fae. Grasshoppers are real. We know that. We also know that you have the Tuatha De Danann, the specific ones that belong to Ireland. They took over Ireland and Scotland from the Fomorians, but you get others in other places. We also know that the original Tuatha do not exist anymore. Bye-bye, Zah. I hope that you have a fantastic evening. But he's gone. Now only their descendants remain, and the descendants of the Tuatha are known as the Aushi. The Aushi are the children, the people of the Shi, and they still have among them all the ones that we know, including the Ben She, the female of the Shi, and others. There's plenty of them. They are the people of the fairy mounds, and we don't name them directly because they listen for their names. The Scottish she, as described best by Robert Kirk, these she, they say, or as they sometimes are called, the Slechmaith, the good people, are said to be of middle nature between man and angel, as daemon was thought to be of old, of intelligent fluidous spirits and light changeable bodies, like those some as called of astral, but somewhere of the nature of the condensed cloud and best seen in twilight, these bodies be so pliable through the subtlety of spirits that agitate them, that they can appear or disappear at their pleasure. So they come, they go, and by their own rules. They are described at length by many, including Shakespeare, as we know. They are shown in art and all kinds of things. We see that Origen of Alexandria, the great Christian scholar, in his Contra Celsum, said, "We indeed also maintain with regard not only to the fruits of the earth, but to every flowing stream and every breath of air, that the ground brings forth those things which are said to grow up naturally, that the water springs in the fountains and refreshes the earth with running streams, that the air is kept pure and supports the life of those who breathe it, only in consequence of the agency and control of certain beings that we may call invisible husbandmen and guardians. But we deny that these invisible agents are demons." A great Christian saint on fairy. So,
Are they demons or angels?
neither. Neither. We know that the secret commonwealth of elves, fauns and fairies, as written and recorded by the Scottish minister Robert Kirk, he says they are the longevi, the long-livers, those that do not die, that live alongside. And in a comment by C.S. Lewis, the great Christian apologist, to J.R.R. Tolkien, he says that the feeling about home must have been quite different in the days when a family had fed on the produce of the same few miles of country for 6 generations. And perhaps this is why, when they saw nymphs in the fountains and dryads in the woods, they were not mistaken, because they were, in a sense, a real connection between them and the countryside. What had been earth and air and corn and bread was now in them. We, of course, who live on a standardized international diet, where you have eaten Canadian flour or English meat and Scotch oatmeal, African oranges and Australian wine in a single day, are really the artificial beings and have no connection, save in sentiment, with any place on earth. We are the synthetic men, uprooted, and the strength of the hills is no longer ours. And it is within us that we must needs seek it out again. Perhaps. But we find them in all sorts of other places, and with all kinds of other things. And one of the great and slightly more frightening ones are the fair folk of the Welsh, the Tylwyth Teg. Sometimes enchanting, sometimes mischievous, they are the Welsh folklore, dancing in fairy rings, residing in the other world, where you have the fairy realms and the realms of the dead together, connected to certain places, interacting with mortals by bestowing riches, which disappear if spoken of, or luring them away, but which require caution, especially regarding iron. They are powerful, wild, and guard hidden realms. They are often fair-haired and human-like, wearing white, red, and green, often dancing. They dwell in Gwelach Chitilwys Teg, the land of the fair folk. Accessible, there you go, spooky, through mounds, caves, lakes, and riverbanks. They bring gifts and treasures and dangers.
Okay.
They are known
Yeah, I was
as...
going to ask you, are they my enemy or are they good? Are they going to be my guardians or
that
are they going to
depends.
attack me?
That depends entirely. They're known as the Bendis Chemal, the blessings of the mothers, the Gwylon, the mountain fairies, and the Elion, the elves. Stories say that humans are lured into their worlds, such as the stories of Eldir, encountering them at night and highlighting the boundaries between the worlds. They might be good, they might be bad.
What type of gifts will they give me?
Oh, whatever you wish for a time.
Do I have to return a gift?
Well, it depends on the
Then
deal.
it's trading, and it's not a gift. So you said it's a deal, so it's not a gift.
It depends how you view gift and whether or not you're an elf.
Well, a gift is something you get for free. The deal is trading.
That's according to human rules, not according to the Fae. The Elion, the elves and the goblins, the Koblinu, the mine fairies, the Bizbakob, the household fairies, the Guanaseth Anin, the underwater fairies or lake maidens, the Gwylon or mountain fairies, they're all there, and they're different in their own ways. They are not well believed in anymore.
Are they pretty vegan?
Are they what?
I don't know. Isn't there a fairy called Pelevegan?
There is. That is one of them. There are Pakwajis and Periwigans and all of that, yes.
But those ones have bug wings.
Some do, yes. But not all. It depends on the type.
Is it just another word for fairy?
No. Just like all elves are fairies, but not all fairies are elves. Pakwajis are American fairies. So the Tilwys tag includes a whole collection. Now, just as the Scots and Irish fairies are the children of Danu, the Tilwys tag are the children of Anun. So a different clan, group. The Nanahe are yet another group bound to the American lands. Very similar, described much the same. Wise, long-lived, powerful, but don't necessarily trust them. They are the moon-eyed ones, the ones that may appear at the crossroads when they want to come between worlds. And that is why you must always beware liminal spaces, because sometimes a liminal space makes thin the barriers between the worlds, and it's not just you that can pass between them. That, you see, is the difference. You have the children of the air, the children of the earth, the children of the waters, and the children of the fire. They're creatures that live on fairy butter and toadstools, that wear foxgloves as clothing, but all are ruled by the queen of the fairy, whichever one it is, or the king. The Seelie court is ruled by Li Agetlam, he of the silver hand, but only that court. The dark court is ruled by another, possibly Queen Mab, the Unseelie. The Tilwys Teg are ruled by Anun, or Arun. My Welsh Gaelic is terrible, I do apologise.
I've got another question for you.
Yes.
Is a gargoyle some sort of being, or is it just a statue?
Both.
It can't be both.
Well, first of all, do you know the difference between a gargoyle and a grotesque?
No.
So, if you see a creature on a building that is purely decorative, that is a grotesque. But when it is a drain pipe, that is a gargoyle. Now,
Okay.
they were
They
made.
look funny. They look like some sort of being.
Yes, they are. Because those are statues that remind us of certain air elementals that were there to guard. They are guardians of a place, and they are powerful, dangerous, with deadly claws, and are virtually indestructible. Both
They look
grotesque.
like demons. They look scary.
They
They've
are
got
guardians,
wings.
yes. They are guardians and warriors that protect a place. They are not demons. They ward off demons. Both gargoyles and grotesques are a kind of fairy that protect a place.
Okay.
And
So I should not trespass.
no, or at least if you go there, you respect the place. So the holy places were built on holy sites, and in remembrance of what was there before, they were put up to keep the protections and to show respect for what came before it with the church.
Why do they look so ugly?
Ugly to who?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, ugly to who? Maybe they look beautiful to the
I
people.
mean, you're pretty ugly to somebody that's completely different to a human. You
Yeah.
need far more horns and much better ears and better teeth before you will look anything like pretty.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's all a matter of opinion.
Yeah. Probably
So
look very ugly to a demon because I don't have horns.
there you are. And don't forget, you have to be very careful when you say demon. Are you talking D-E-M-O-N, the modern Christian version, or the old version, daimonion, which may mean more than just your Christian modern creature? Christianity is young. It's only a couple of thousand years old. There are far older religions and older stories that are told in whispers, only when the fire is lit and the lights are bright. So, you get the Llos Alfar, the light elves, and the Dok Alfar, the dark elves, the Seelie and the Unseelie. But some say no, that fairies can only really be classified in white, green, or black. They are a
Green.
specific variety. The white
Like
ones
a
would...
goblin.
No. Your green ones refers to the nature fairy. Those that are guardians of places and things. They are neutral. The white fairy, which are the lords of illusion, the prettiest and the nicest, but not the safest.
Pretty
And
to who?
pretty to you.
Okay,
You
so I'll
will
find
see
them
them.
pretty.
Yes. But remember that they are lords of illusion. And
Okay.
then the dark elves, the unseelie, where you will see as they really are, that are not pretty to you at all, but maybe are far more honest in a way.
Okay.
Now, we know that the French have fairies, which they say are good and evil, but who's to say? The gentle ones that love music and dancing, and the evil ones that ally with the devil. But of course, Lady Gregory's account might be biased by Christianity, which came later. Yeats said no, they were trooping, known for their singing and dancing, those that were solitary and those that stayed in place and in their own domestication, and those that stayed in your domestication, like the brownies that will come and live alongside you. We know that the Cornish fairies include things like the pixies, the spriggans, the bucas, the buckles, the knockers, and the brownies, the homelier and smaller ones, about 1.5 feet tall, nicer and easier to live alongside as long as you don't piss them off. But if you do, be sure that they're only pissed off for a short time. And I get the look from Mickey. Hee ha ha hoo. You get the Welsh fairies, which we've spoken of. And we know that the Germanic, the Vikings spoke of the fairies, the ones from Alfheim and the Summerlands. So absolutely there were all kinds. So there's no lack of them all around, your different fairies. The Alven from Holland, where if you walk in the wild places in Holland, as Moon said, you will often find little houses that people have put up for them, for the travelling Alven, in respect, because if you don't show respect, they will become upset. But if you do, they'll be very kind to you. The Alven are very mean if you pick their night-blooming flowers or trample and desecrate their sacred places. Not all are like that. You get your boggarts in Scotland, knockers that throw rocks and cause trouble. You got your Irish Banshe, which we remember rather badly as the Banshee, the wailing ones. We know that the queen there is the Morrigan, the Lady of Crows, the goddess of magic. And she, perhaps, is the one that truly leads the Unseelie court. A goddess of war and blood and death, and very, very unforgiving. We know that the brownies, the cute little ones that look after your home for you and will help on farms, the hobgoblins, which is an ugly little creature that exists to cause trouble. They are smallish. Again?
No.
Hobgoblins. Yes.
Hobgoblins.
A hobgoblin. They are there as small, hairy little men designed to cause trouble and create mischief. And some would say in many ways that the house elves were a version of hobgoblins, but slightly made nice. Your pixies are, by and large, your Tinkerbelly ones, also known as piskies, grigs, pechs, and pickers. But unlike Tinkerbell, which was far too cute, they're quite nasty. Yes, they are small, they are beautiful, with little dragonfly or butterfly wings. They are gorgeous little things, loving gardens full of flowers, and are known as creatures of spring and summer, times of Ostara, Beltane, Lisa, and Lunasa. Never for the dark times of Samhain. But nevertheless, meat eaters, blood drinkers, they're the ones that defend the places like nature, and they do it the hard way with their sharp little teeth. And if you've ever read the original story of Peter Pan...
Why do you say meat eater like it's a bad thing? I'm a meat eater.
Yes, but the meat that they prefer to eat in this case is you.
Okay.
Yes. Spinners of webs. They keep spiders as pets, the poisonous kind. They are not good at all. And if you've actually read the original story of Peter Pan, you very quickly realize that the true villain is Peter Pan. And that Tinkerbell is a spiteful little being. Nevertheless, Disney has changed many things. You have, amongst other things, the Kalikanthroy from Anatolia, little goblin-type creatures. They ride on the backs of chickens, and their favorite food is pork. They're supposedly ugly little buggers that ride in groups along with goblins and fairies. They are active on nights approaching the winter solstice and are never seen past the 12th night. Illustrations show them as being misformed with donkey ears and goat legs. A lot like was described by Shakespeare in A Midsummer Night's Dream. You also have the Chinchin Kobakama, the Japanese house fairy, one of the yokai that keeps houses clean. It's a brownie, but a Japanese brownie. The little men who look after the things and live in the carpets, and as long as you're good to them, they will bless your home. But if your house is not kept clean and your residents are lazy, they go nasty and they stop helping and they will pick on you. You also get their equivalent among the Slavic peoples, the domovoi, that live in your house, that do exactly the same thing, the little ones that help. You have the dryads from Greek mythology, which you find among the Tuatha De Danaan and the Tilwisdeg as well, that you find in Indonesia and the Philippines, the ladies of the trees that have a special tree connected to them that you must never cut. Beautiful, lovely, and are able to be very kind, but mess with them, and nature itself will turn against you, and you will regret it. So Robert Kirk told us many things, and you can find his book even today. We know that he explained a lot of things that many prefer to live at night. They are known as the moon-eyed ones. So in Scotland they're spoken of as night-dwelling. Among the Cherokee they are spoken as night-dwelling. The Slavic people speak of them as night-dwelling. And we know that the Sluamaith only come out in the dark. And for all that we call them the good people, that's more a hope than a fact. We know that they abduct, they strike with their poisoned arrows, and in some cases you can see past their illusions if you follow the instructions left by Robert Kirk, which can be done in a number of ways. If you're lucky enough to own a hagstone and you use that, you can see them. If you stand on one leg with your clothes on backwards, holding in your hand a strip of flesh torn from the back of a hanged criminal, you will be able to see them ride past. Though where you would get such a thing, I suppose, is another question entirely. We know that at times they can be doppelgangers, as the Germans call it, double walkers, those who appear just like you somewhere else. And when somebody runs into them, they would swear that it was you. You look the same, you sound the same, you act the same, but something is not quite right, a little off, and very clearly it's not you. But they don't quite know why they know that. And when they come back and say, Mickey, I saw you in Durban yesterday, and you go, but I've been in Cape Town all week. I couldn't have been. And I was with 30 other people. That's when you realize that maybe it was a doppelganger.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Help me with the right name. I keep on saying Floki, but is it actually Loki?
Which you're referring to the Nordic god Loki. One of the,
Loki, okay.
Loki was a Vanir. He was not an elf or a fairy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just because I said Floki, but
Yes.
I'm saying it wrong. It's Loki.
In the old name, Loki, Luch, Othel, Canus, Is, which is water, homestead, light, and ice in the old language. But he was a Van, not one of the Aesir.
I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to go. My phone's about to die.
Oh no! Well, we are virtually towards the end of our time, so you will not miss too much at the very least. But thank you so much for being on with us. It was wonderful having you. Thank you, thank you,
nice.
thank you. And I will see you tomorrow. I hope.
Yeah, I would try my best. Have a good sleep. Good night.
Good night, good night.
Bye.
So, The Secret Commonwealth by Robert Kirk, which was written around 1691. He was a Scottish minister and believed very much in the fairy and wrote an entire book, which you can still buy on Amazon, believe it or not, where he explains a great deal about the Sluamaith. He's very much Scottish oriented in this, because he is Scots and in Scotland. And he wants to provide evidence for the hidden people in their world, and explains a lot about the second sight and how to get it. He collected all kinds of stories from wherever he worked in order to build up his knowledge, which he wrote into the book. Their amazing music, their strange reflections, and descriptions of enchantments to ward them off or draw them near. It's one of the most important Scottish texts ever as a collection on the fairy, because there are very few ever written because of the rule that you do not speak of them. But Robert Kirk got around it by writing. He was born in 1644 as a minister, a Gaelic scholar, a folklorist, and more in his lifetime. A wonderful man and an interesting one. So received a great much praise for his work. He was a Presbyterian, in fact, which was quite interesting, Scots Gaelic, and he was the guy who helped translate the Bible into the Scots Gaelic. A friend of his, Robert Boyle, who was the great scientist, financed the publication of the Gaelic Bible that Kirk helped write. But alas, Kirk died before he was able to publish The Secret Commonwealth. And some say that he hadn't died at all, but because he had revealed too much, he was taken away. Now, Scottish author Sir Walter Scott was the one who published Kirk's work, and it was Andrew Lang who edited it and gave it the title in 1893. There are multiple editions that have been published over the years, and yes, even till today. So it was an interesting thing and an interesting story. Well worth the read if you can get your hands on the book, but not as easy as all that to get. And with that said, we see that we have reached the end of what we can talk at the moment about the elves. We know that carrying salt and a hagstone is very, very wise. I would suggest that you do. How to get a hagstone is another question, and whether or not you will be able to use it correctly, well, we don't know. We do know that, yes.
Can you get what?
A hagstone.
A hagstone?
Yes.
Okay.
A hagstone is a very special stone that is used a lot by those who know the old ways. It is a stone that is washed by the sea until it has a natural hole in it.
Okay.
So you have to get them from the beach or near the beach, and it has to be naturally worn. It's no good taking a stone and drilling a hole through it. That don't count.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to know how to properly bless your salt. And there are varying ways that people say that you would do it. I suppose you will know if you've done it right if you come back from the ferry alive. And if you don't, that wasn't the way to do it. But it's wise to have a little on hand, blessed and marked with iron and salt. Just to be sure, don't you know? And if you can do all of that, and you do it correctly, then maybe, just maybe, you can interact with the fairy. And if you get it wrong, you can't. But then what about that? We have fairy in this country. Absolutely, they exist here. They exist in every country. Do you think you have ever seen a fairy? Would you like to see a fairy? Have you ever seen signs of a fairy? I have seen mushroom rings. I have seen bees gather at bushes. Absolutely. I have seen a number of signs that are said to show the fairy are present. But I have not to date dared to try to get me a hagstone. Maybe I will. What about you, Colleen? Have you ever seen signs of a fairy? Would you like to? Sad to say, Moon has left us for tonight and we can't ask her, but she believes in the fairy. I wanted to know if she had a hagstone. Who's to say? What about you, Spooky? Do you want to see them?
Do I want to see them?
Yeah.
If they're dangerous? Probably not.
Well,
I can't say that I've seen them. Maybe I have, but I've never been
aware of seeing them. A fair point. Have you seen a ring of mushrooms?
If I have, I probably didn't think much about it. I probably just walked right over it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, hang around liminal spaces and you might get lucky. Or unlucky, as the case may be. But with that all said, that is the end of tonight. But tomorrow, we are going to dive deeper into horror. And whether or not...
I was going to ask you one more question about Loki. Did you say he was a what?
A Van.
A Van.
So, of the gods, there were two groups. There were the Aesir, who were tall, blonde, blue-eyed. The real Germanic style gods. Thor was tall, blonde, blue-eyed. But then you had the Vanir, who were darker and smaller, with grey eyes and brown eyes. And Loki was one of the Van. He was a Vanir, not an Aesir. But, like Skathi, he went over to live with the Aesir as part of the treaty.
And what is a Asgardian?
An Asgardian are those who come from Asgard. They're Aesir. The Vanir did not come from Asgard.
Asgard is a place, like South Africa is a place. So we are South Africans, they are Asgardians.
You get not exactly.
There is an Asgardian.
You get,
whether it's Loki or Thor, they are Asgardians.
No. You get 9 realms. The middle realm is Middle Earth, us. Up and down the line of the realms, you get Alfheim, Vanaheim. So Asgard is in Alfheim. No, correction. Alfheim, Vanaheim, Asgard, Sonnenheim, Helheim. I forget all of them now. But there are 9 realms. Asgard is one of the 9 realms. Vanaheim is one of the 9 realms. Middle Earth, us, our world, is one of the 9 realms.
Okay, but let's say my parents was kidnapped and taken to Asgard. and then they gave me birth. And I was born there, and I grew up there, and all I ever knew was Asgard. Would I then be an Asgardian?
No.
I'll be an Earthling.
Yes, you are a middle. That was the whole problem with Loki. He went to live in Asgard, but he did not belong there, and that was half the problem with him. Nobody accepted him properly.
Okay.
And
And he comes
equally
from a different
so,
realm.
yes, when Balor went to stay with Skadi as part of their agreement, the problem was Balor came from the Sommerlands, where it's warm, but Skadi comes from the lands that are cold, the lands of winter, and he couldn't stand staying there, even though he loved her. And
Why
that
do
was
they look like humans?
many do, but not quite. We might say that we look like them, lesser copies of a greater being.
Okay. Yeah, that would probably make more sense. We look like them. They don't look like us.
Yes. And besides them, the Alpha, the Ljósálfar and the Drottálfar have their realms as well that they come from. They don't come from this earth, though they do cross over into it. And we know that Hel, or Hela, rules Helheim, her realm, where the dead go. And they don't cross over normally either. And the realms are connected by the world tree, Yggdrasil. And what goes on throughout the realms is reported by Ratatosk, who moves through the branches.
Okay.
Yeah. But they are not elves, not by any means. The elves are something else. They are the Alfar.
Cool.
So yes, do join us for a look into horror as horror, and what kind of horrors are really real, and what are made up, and why do we love it anyway? Because it's pretty clear that we do. And with that said, thank you all. May you have a wonderful night. Sleep sweet, sleep deep. But sleep with one eye open, because as it turns out, if you haven't laid cold iron at your doors and salt at your windows, the Alpha are around and they might come visiting.
I'll build a gargoyle, I mean.
A gargoyle. That might be a good idea. And if you can enchant it, even better. Maybe you can convince one to come and live by you. Not entirely certain what calls the gargoyles to a place. Maybe I must try and find out and let you know.
Well, I'll first start creating some ugly ass statues.
That's one thing. Good luck. Let me know how it goes and send pictures.
Yeah, okay, cool. Cheers. Enjoy.
Cheers, cheers. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.